I think, first of all, that it's okay to not have it right. It's okay not to make it perfect because perfectionist is one of the blocks that keeps us from going forward, but as well keeps us very miserable.
Hello, and welcome to the Connect podcast. This show is all about helping you connect to your soul's calling so you can take action on it. Because the sweetest success is a blend of discovering your purpose with the inner drive to bring it to life. I'm Sheila Botello, health coach, lifestyle entrepreneur, and mom of two, best known for my online wellness programs, mentoring, and self-love passion. Listen in for inspiring interviews, solo chats, and Q&A sessions that will move you past overwhelm towards what lights you up. Stop accepting good enough and go for your version of great in your health, business, and relationships. Let's get started. Hey, welcome to today's interview. Monica LeBaron helps busy women simplify their wellness so they can sleep better and have more energy to enjoy life. A yoga therapist and neuromuscular body alignment expert, Monica trained with renowned neuromuscular therapist Lee Albert and graduated with honors from her MBA. She's lived and worked in both Sweden and China, where she started her entrepreneurial journey and now runs her business remotely while traveling the world and getting her beauty sleep. If you've ever found yourself wanting to shift careers or remove stress in your life, you'll find Monica's story may give you a nudge to go for it. When you take a step forward, you'll gain clarity for your next move. Enjoy the conversation. Hi, Monica. It is so good to see you. I'm happy you could be here today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
I've enjoyed getting to know you over the last year, and I find that you spread so much calm and joy in your interactions. So I'd love to start kind of at the beginning, a little synopsis of where were you born and raised and where are you living now? What brought you to where you're living now?
Okay, so thank you for that. I was born and raised in Mexico. I come from a bilingual and multicultural family, and so my mom's part of the side is Mexican, and then my dad is a little bit of Mexican, a little bit of American. But I lived all my life in Mexico until I moved to China when I was 23 or something, and then moved to Sweden for a bit. And then finally, I was living in the US for a couple of years, and now I'm back in Mexico. So I wanted to spend more time with my parents, and then the pandemic hit. So here I am, and it's a really, really lovely place to be.
I love that you love to travel. This is a big part of how you've lived your life. And I think it's beautiful being an international person gives you so much vision into and insight into people from all different walks of life and what their needs are. And yet, have you noticed people are people wherever you go? And very often we have very similar needs and desires for our life.
Absolutely. Like, I never thought I was going to be living the life I'm living right now. I come from a very small town. So like getting to travel and all that wasn't in my mind. But when I did, I absolutely found that. Like here in China and all over the world, like we have the same needs. You know, we like to be cared for, respected, and there's like crazy people than others, like and nicer people than others as well. And even in my own family, in my own community, or in the world, I feel that that's a very interesting way to be able to connect with not only people from your own race or your own age, but just to be able to open and receive everybody as they are, perfect, and we are the same, right?
Yes. And so, why China? What took you there? And what were you doing while you lived there? What was your focus?
So, I wanted to speak the three more spoken languages in the world. So, English, Spanish, and Chinese. Um, so after I graduated from college and I started my master's, they require for me to have a second language to be able to graduate. So I told myself that's going to be Chinese because I already grew bilingual, right? So I'm like, I'm going to do Chinese. And then just little by little, I was like, okay, I have to move now. If I don't move now, I'm never going to do it. And I looked for an agency and a study agency, and they helped me with all the paperwork and all that. So I just quit my job and I told my boss, like, I'm leaving at the end. And I think it was the summer. I'm like, I'm leaving in December. And when I got there, I started to study Chinese. So I would do Chinese in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I'll do part of my master's because I switched to the online modality. And the Chinese was just so hard. Like, I was like, why wasn't my dad Chinese? It would have been so much easier. So I would focus a lot on my master's and bringing that Chinese element to my MBA, because my bachelor's is in management, business management. So it was like, oh, this is kind of boring, but let me add, okay, in Mexico you do this, in US you do this, in China you're doing things like that. So at the starting, I started doing only Chinese languages. And then later I was working for the Mexican embassy. Then I came back to China and I was working for the National University of Mexico. And I started my first business, that is the greeting card business. And, basically I was doing too much. And that's when all this, that's when I burned out for the first time. And then when I started seeking for help and acupuncture, everything I could find. And then it was where I technically found yoga therapy. And that's what, saved my life a few times already.
Wow. So was it in China then that you started searching for all these different wellness modalities?
Yes.
That's such a great place to be because, hello, ancient Chinese medicine, right? There's so much wisdom there. And I think it's like you went to the root, you went to the birthplace almost of many of these modalities. And so, what do you feel like really spoke to you the most? And how have you carried that with you into the work that you're currently doing?
So yoga therapy or the Chinese wisdom?
Probably both.
Okay.
Yeah, one probably led to
So
the other, right?
yeah, I've always been very open to every type of healing modality. I grew up on trying to prevent disease instead of, working on it. So it's been like very healthy environment. And I would always try everything like massage and, I took acupuncture sessions before moving to China. So when I was there, I'm like, yeah, I'm here every weekend. And I took advantage of all the foot massage and body massage. And, I went through all just as a curiosity. But then it was a period in my life, it was very dark and I needed like way more. And I feel like when you're ready, the right teachers arrive. And I honestly just went to, I would go to your, keep confusing this too, keep going to acupuncture every week because I used to have like a lot of neck and shoulder pain. My knees would hurt, headaches. I wasn't able to sleep. But then I would just get that relief for, a couple hours and then my stress levels would be up again. So I decided like I couldn't work on my own anymore. So I went to psychotherapy. And then when I was going to psychotherapy, talking to my therapist, I found this yoga therapist that my friend introduced me. And I'm like, ooh, free yoga therapy sessions. Because I mean, I thought it was just going to be yoga classes, right? I did not know what yoga therapy was. And on our third session, I was feeling amazing, and in just those days, I remember that when I was a little girl, I was watching TV with my dad and we saw like this documentary about yoga and, I was a little girl and I was like, ooh, one day I want to be a yoga therapist. But that was like a dream. I'm a yoga teacher. That was like a dream. Like one day I'm going to be an astronaut, right?
Wow.
So on my third session with her, it was like, I don't want to be a yoga teacher. I want to be a yoga therapist because it was just that good.
So tell me, what is the difference between a yoga instructor and a yoga therapist? Obviously, one gets way more in depth. I'd love to hear the difference.
So think about yoga as food, right? When yoga can be very healing or quite the opposite, just like food, depending on what you need, right? If you're doing extreme yoga and you have injuries or it's not the type of yoga for your body, you can get injured just like you can get sick by eating food that either you're allergic or eating too much or whatever, right? So the main difference between yoga and yoga therapy is that with yoga therapy, you become your own chef. You learn what your body needs, what type of recipes or um, breathing meditation, whatever it is that it's right for you in that moment. Because every day, just like food, we need something different. So it's that part of self healing that your body has a potential of healing itself, and then just giving the right conditions.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's like having the understanding that you need to start with yourself first. Knowing what your body's capable of right now will help you take it to the next level. Very often, myself and friends have gone to different yoga classes, and I always take kind of the cautionary route where I will really just ease into things. And then I have friends who are very competitive, very athletic. And so they just want to do the hard posture right away and they're going to go for it. And then, like, the next day or the day after that, it's like, oh no, I did something to myself. What did I do? And it's like having that understanding, right? I think it's great that you found something that you can access just in your own body. Yoga being something that you don't really need anything other than your body to be able to do. And yet there's so much more to it than that. I'm sure
Yeah.
you could probably share a lot of stories too about different ways that it has helped you. And I'd love if you would share what is something that has helped you from a physical standpoint and an emotional, mental standpoint from doing this form of yoga.
So as I was telling you before, like my main pain was in my neck and shoulders, and I would always have a lot of pain on my lower back and my knees and also my feet. Like it was so difficult for me to find shoes because I would always be like in pain. And like yoga therapy helped me to relax, first of all, right? With yoga nidra, I was able to start breathing again. Like I started meditating. I was never able to quiet my mind or, just like even know exactly what meditation was. It was like, like I was doing yoga for maybe 5 years before I started with yoga therapy sessions. But actually, in that time, I stopped doing it because I wasn't able to concentrate. Right.
Mhm.
So when I needed yoga the most, I decided to stop. And and then just when I started with yoga therapy sessions, it was just that part of being aware, like, what am I feeling? And to validate my feelings, right? If today I'm angry, that's okay to be angry. If I'm sad, that's okay. Like, I don't have to be happy all the time. And then, that part of how to bring like positive affirmations or asking my body, like, what do I want? And when you don't know and you never tried this, it feels weird. But now I like to see it like if you go to the restaurant, you have the menu, you know what you want. Sometimes you're like, oh, I want to get that salad because it's more healthy, but you're craving that fried chicken. Your body, like, that's the same thing with manifesting, that's the same thing with what do you want with your health. You know exactly when that, like you're craving that chocolate cake or that feeling of, this feels good. This feels delicious, right? And that's what I learned with yoga therapy mostly, besides like all my health it was better, but that part of knowing what I really want, it has helped me with my health and my business and my life and my relationship. So it's way beyond relaxing for 5 minutes before um, an interview, what I was doing this morning.
Well, it's so
So,
interesting you say that because when I think of yoga, now that I've done it enough to see the benefits are far more than physical. The time to be quiet, to be still, and yes, to really look within. And I love it, like the yoga nidra concept. And then also, if you are in a traditional yoga class where you're being guided through the postures and the yoga instructor is directing your attention generally at the beginning or the end of the practice to consider various things. And then all of your own thoughts and beliefs and feelings start to bubble up to the surface. It is like yoga allows you to tune in. And I've heard that from so many people. I've experienced it myself. And when you talk about asking yourself and really, really giving yourself what you need, what your body's asking for, I had this experience over the last several months, and I wrote about it recently actually on the blog. I was craving French fries. And I don't really ever crave French fries. I'm not a big potato fan. It's just not my thing, but I was craving them. And I found I was gravitating towards various vegetables that had a lot of crunch, but that actually were filled with iron. And then
mm,
fast forward to getting my blood test back that I'd been delayed in getting due to 2020. And it was uncovered that my iron storage levels in my body were very, very low because I'm going through perimenopause. And I'm like, my body is so wise. And wouldn't you know it?
yes.
And of course, here's first of all, when I craved those fries, I'm like, well, this is different. I'm going to go have them. I don't eat fast food all the time. I'm going to go have them. And it just felt like so nourishing, right? And I would give my body what it needed. But when I discovered from looking at my blood test, what I needed, fortunately, the doctor said, hey, well, really the best thing for us to do is to get you on a really good quality iron supplement the next few months because everything else was great. B12 was great. Hemoglobin was great, all of that. And literally within days, the things that I had been craving, I didn't crave anymore. So our
Hmm.
bodies are always trying to communicate with us. And we
Yes.
really do need to tune in and listen. So something as simple as that. I mean, we think, okay, iron, it's in everything. How can you be low? It's just one of those things. It takes time to build it up. Even if you eat a good amount of meat, it's just, is your body assimilating and storing it? And when you're dealing with hormonal shifts, you're going to see things happening differently. So I'm always like advocating for people, get your blood tested and first tune in with yourself. So having a practice, whether it is a yoga or meditation practice of a body scan, something to just allow people to really feel into what is different, what has changed this week compared to last week or this month compared to last month. Because when I look back, I can see the changes. So that is so fascinating. And I'm curious to know also for you to be shifting from, first of all, you moved countries, and what an audacious, amazing goal to learn a new language that's a completely different alphabet, a completely different writing structure, everything. What a beautiful challenge for you. And then to leave your traditional job and move into being an entrepreneur and starting a business. What fears did you have to overcome to live into that and to take those steps? Or did you feel like fear played a factor at all?
Of course it did.
I always ask because I have yet to find anyone where fear hasn't been involved, but those people exist, I guess.
Yeah, I guess sometimes you don't put it as fear, or at the beginning, I did not know it was fear, but of course, it was fear of judgment, first of all. Like, I feel like I'm always been very introvert, even though it doesn't seem like. So for me, it was very easy to go, I can go in a restaurant, group of strangers and talk to everybody. And it was very normal. Like, I can do that because they don't know me. They're not going to ask me all the hard questions. But when it comes to people I know and people I love, I had a lot of fear of judgment, right? Because, I was the first generation to get a education, and, I did a lot of things that nobody actually did. And it was just like, I wanted to be that great example, right? And at the same time, it was just that fear of failure. And, like I always got things good, like how I wanted, because maybe my expectations weren't so high. but but it was just that part of putting the work and doing the things. I was in the beginning, before I knew anything about yoga, I was doing everything very intuitively. I wouldn't make plans, like long-term plans, or just like I would make one or two, like, oh, I'm gonna move to China, and all I did was save money, right? I didn't worry about how I was gonna get there. But that time I had money, I'm like, okay, now let's move, because if you don't do it, you don't do it. Same thing, like my exams or my jobs, like I would just try to do the good work and show up. And then I feel like just little by little, things just kind of got into place. When I moved for, I don't know, I think I moved like 10 times in 10 years. And sometimes it was countries, and sometimes it was just a home or another city. So I became very resilient to moving and starting all over. But the last move before I moved to Mexico, I moved to El Paso, Texas, and I decided that I didn't want to do that anymore. So that's why one of the things that I did is I started my community online. So even if I moved, it was like not starting all over again. But of course, yoga and all the teachings of yoga have helped me to, you know, trust. When I went into my yoga teacher training, there were all the yoga sutras and the nine yamas and niyamas, how um, different things of how yoga works, right? They don't tell you have to do this, but there's this advice to do, right? And I've learned that I was already doing all of them without me knowing the names. And the only one that I lacked, it was I don't remember the name in Sanskrit, but it's the trusting that everything's being taken care of, and just like release, surrender. There's more surrender, trust and surrender, and that's what I started doing. And I was like, okay, I'm not alone. I don't have to do everything, and I think that was the most crucial part for me to move on into entrepreneurship, and at the same time to trust myself. And at the beginning, I did not know what that felt like and how was that. And I would do a lot of research. And now I put it to the same example as I do with food. Like if I'm really craving that, like that's the right thing. And that's how I trust myself. So it feels just more expansive. It feels good. It feels natural.
And there's so much love and grace involved when you do that. It's like you're giving
Yeah.
yourself a gift by trusting yourself. And
Yeah.
have you found that even when you've felt into something, gone that direction, and then realized, you know what, maybe this isn't the right direction. How have you taken that experience then and used that as information to move you forward once again?
Ooh, that's a hard one, because I think recently I've been experiencing that a lot. And like, did I take that right direction? Did I do that correctly? And just what I tell myself is like, I did exactly what I needed in that moment. Maybe today now it seems different because my perspective is different, my situation is different. So I'm just trusting that that is the right tool. And what I start doing, like just I think started yesterday, was like, oh, I release that with love. That's gone. Like, thank you for that lesson. I release it with love. I've been working on different things, and then just like taking a breath and just like, you know, mentally and emotionally, and just moving and saying, thank you. I release that with love. Or it's time to let go, like just positive things of telling myself, like, it's okay. I don't have to be carrying this, because we're always going to be working with something. My one of my therapists told me that life is like an onion. It has big layers, small layers. Some are going to make you cry, some not. They won't, And we're always going to be working with something, and we're always going to have like a new teacher, a new tool, or a new challenge, right? And I think it's just very important to give yourself that space and that acknowledgement of all the things that are going right, all the things that you did do. Because if we focus on only the negative, that's a very rough and bumpy ride.
You're so right. And that is a beautiful philosophy for people to take into any life change that they're making. If they're changing careers, if they're wanting to move cities. Out of curiosity, where are the different places you've lived in? Like, you've done quite a bit of traveling. I'd love to just hear a little synopsis of the places you've been.
So there's not a lot of cities. I lived in 5 cities: El Paso, Texas, and Beijing, and Sweden, and Malmo, and then here in my hometown. So therefore, well, 2 more other cities in Chihuahua. It's the capital state of Chihuahua, and then just the city where I was born, just a few miles away from here.
Right.
But
And
I've
all very
traveled
different.
to, yeah, it's very different. Different cities, different countries. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that, again, that brings in so much information to be able to really connect in a loving and open way, to be receptive to people, to want to hear their story. And I think when we approach life with that openness, it's incredible to see what opens up before us.
Right.
So I'm wondering what you shared earlier about, releasing with love the things that maybe weren't exactly what you wanted. That's such a wonderful way for all of us to approach different things, different challenges, different changes in our lives. And I'm wondering if, because of the drastic changes that you made in your life in terms of going from, one career and completely shifting into online and, following your passion for wellness, what kind of advice would you give to someone who is wanting to make a shift, who feels like it could be really, it's so different that they're not quite sure where to start? What would you invite them to do?
So I think, first of all, that it's okay to not have it right. It's okay not to make it perfect, because perfectionist is one of the blocks that keeps us from going forward, but as well keeps us very miserable, because we always want, like, I'm a perfectionist in recovery. And it's just like, knowing what you want and knowing that you don't have to be there the day after tomorrow. It can take a year, it can take 10 months, it can take 10 years. Been reading and like learning about different entrepreneurs, and like just one book, it took them like 10 years to research, right? And one thing that somebody told me once was that Beyonce practices for one concert for 6 months. And I was like, you see, if she can, why can't we? And especially just like look at nature. Nature is not producing every year. I mean, yeah, sometimes they'll produce every year, but, or every day of the year, right? There's seasons. Sometimes, the pecans can harvest. Sometimes it's a really good harvest, and sometimes it's not. So the same thing with us. So first of all, knowing what you want and be very clear about that, and journal, research, and then start moving forward little by little. Like maybe it's just saving $10 a day, so by the end of the year you have little cash flow to start. Maybe it's just reading books. Maybe it's following the person who's doing what you do, and of course getting all the help you can want. We can, because I feel that when you start and you have that help, even if it's, you exchange services, or even if their nonprofits or if you pay for a coach, I feel like that is very key to keep going.
Great advice. And I love that story about Beyonce. It's true. We think about musical artists and actors, and many times we'll see they're just everywhere because they have their publicists working for them, promoting whatever they've been working on. But we don't stop to think, I haven't heard anything from this person in the last year. This person hasn't dropped an album for 2 years. It's like, well, because they were stopping to take in their life and let the creative juices flow. Like creativity it's not something that can be pushed or rushed. And I think it's true, like the creativity involved with starting a business, with changing directions in our lives. There's a lot of fluidity there that we need to leave space for. So I love that advice. And I also love details. So what does a typical week look like for you in your life and business right now?
So I currently changed my structure a little bit because I'm helping out with the family business. So I decided that Monday and Tuesdays will be to work with the family business. Wednesdays, I have private clients. And then Thursdays, I do interviews. So I have my programs. And then I try to keep Fridays free just because I've learned that by Friday, I was already exhausted and I wanted to quit every Friday. And then just Saturdays, I leave them. I work because that's where my more creative work comes, and I feel more productive. Maybe because I work all week and I just finish on Saturday, so it feels like done next. And that's what I've been doing for the past week or so. And some of my non-negotiables is not work on Sunday, not work after 4. No meetings on Monday. And what else? I work in chunks of time. So I do the Pomodoro method. So I work for 30 minutes, go stretch, go for a walk for 5 minutes. And after 3 hours, I take a lunch break or, go out. And basically, that's it. I do work more with my moon since I started with the origin. And I just tried, my new thing I did is I'm not working the first week of the month. So it doesn't mean I don't work. It means that I don't have any appointments. So then I have more space. And I just blocked my calendar yesterday and I'm like, no, I don't work because when you work with your cycle and the moon, it's better to do it when you're having your cycle and all that. But then I was like, that's going to be very difficult for me to remember which week is it. So I'm like, keep it simple. I try to simplify things. So I just block my first week of every month so I don't have any appointments unless, there's things that come up. But at least I have more buffer time to work on my projects and work on things. Right now I'm launching a new program, meditation
I want you to
program.
talk all about that, all about meditation. Yes.
I'm so excited because this is the first project where I hire help. So I have a copywriter helping me with, putting my words properly for my ideal clients. I have a designer that I worked for years, but now she's on a monthly basis doing some of my graphics. And I had hired somebody to help me edit my videos. And it's been so much work because you still have to train people. You still have this is just another side hustle for them. So they're busy, So it's been very interesting. But the program is going to be 26 meditation tools and techniques so people can find the right one for them. Like we were talking at the beginning, it's very important to find the one that you resonate with. So this is going to be it's very different from what's out there because usually there's a meditation challenge that you do the same meditation for 30 days. So inside this mini course, I included a 30-day challenge, but every day you're going to have a different tool. We start with 3 days to preparing for it, setting intention, setting a goal, and learning how you're going to celebrate when you're finished. And then every day is going to be a different tool, different technique. So by 30 days, you tried 26 tools, simple, simple tool that you can even do in the shower or, before a meeting starts or stuff like that. And then once you find your, like, oh, I like this one, I'm going to try this one, then I'll teach you another tool so you can keep that meditation practice for longer, to keep the momentum going.
Well, that's amazing.
Yes, I'm so excited. And, when I started meditating, it was like, oh, no, it's not going to happen. No. And it wasn't until I found the right tool for me, that's where like, oh, this could happen.
Well, I'm excited to share this with people. So we're going to have a link to this program. I'll put it in the show notes and people can go check it out. And when does this start?
So the program doors open on May 24th, and we're starting to launch May 1st. So there's going to be a very interesting giveaway. So I have $600 on prizes. Includes a one-on-one session with me. I partner with different localpreneurs, and even I'm gonna be giving Insight Timer annual membership.
Great.
So there's a very amazing self-care that starts in May 1st, and it will, end on the May 22nd, and the program launches May 24th, and then it starts in June 1st. Too many dates.
There's a flow, and that's great. People can kind of see, okay, here's the flow, but of course they can always click on the link that is going to be provided and be able to look at everything in detail. So that's wonderful. I think it's great that you're giving people the option to see all of these different types of meditation tools, because it's true, everyone is so different. And not everything is going to resonate for everyone. I found that myself with meditation, with even different yoga practices. It's kind of like, you resonate more with certain instructors than others, or certain aesthetics. We're all very individual. So it's beautiful that you're doing that, and you're putting it in a container that really does simplify how they can move through this. Because I mean, honestly, so many times people will say to me, yeah, I've been thinking I really should start meditating and I'll get around to it at some point. But making a commitment to yourself of, I'm going to learn the different tools and then just do it once and for all, you can actually really improve your life by having one little practice you've added that you maybe otherwise would have been putting off for many years. So that's great. And as we've been talking about, you and I, our focus that we share definitely is about wellness. And it feels like these times that we're in seem to call for a whole new kind of self care. And you've shared some foundational ways that we can nourish this way of life. And with that in mind, I would really love to hear what's an area that you're really focused on improving in your own self care practice.
Right now, I'm working with like that, like letting go and releasing, as I was telling you, like that little mental thing that, hey, what's happening here? So I'm working on releasing, to perfectionists, and releasing like partnerships that I had in the past, and just clearing up all that energy, and just releasing myself so I can move forward without all the regrets or anything that happened in the past. That's one of the main things that I'm doing right now. I am focusing a lot on my sleep. I feel that with this change of stations, it's so sunny almost for longer, so I want to be awake longer. But when I go to bed very late, I wake up late, and then I feel like I'm more sluggish, energy drain. I love when I wake up early. So I'm working, like being very, very careful about not going to bed late, and, just working a little bit on meditation as well. Since I'm preparing for my program, I've been doing more meditation and looking into techniques and, just some techniques that I've had for years. I'm just like diving deeper to see like, oh, this is what it means. I've just done it, but I really don't know why. So I've been digging more into meditation as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because having the breadth of knowledge that you have, and I can relate, like we've seen all these different practices and things. And then when we go to teach somebody, we go even deeper into it and it really reinforces the practice in our own life. And I love that. And I love that it can change, right? Like through the seasons, like you were saying, even the way we sleep, like in the wintertime, I might not get up as early as I do in these spring, summer, and even the fall months. I allow myself to go more with the sun, right? And so I
Mm-hmm.
try to plan my time accordingly that way also. And right now I'm loving waking up early too. There's something about you just hear the birds starting to wake and then I'm out there with them. It's really
Yeah.
beautiful. And so, Monica, I'm really grateful that you could be here today. And thank you for sharing your story and all that you're doing to make these things more accessible for people. I really appreciate you being here with me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for your amazing podcast and for, putting all this knowledge and amazing stories out to the world.
Oh, thank you. And I'd love for you to share where people can find and follow you.
Well, first of all, whoever wants to join the Meditation Simplified program, they're going to get a $20 discount by putting the code Shayla. And then you can find me on my website. It's monicalebaron.com. And social media, I'm mostly on Instagram. So that's monica.le.caron. So my last name's with dots to separate it. And you can find the Meditation Simplified program at monicalebaron.com/meditation simplified. Is that
Wonderful.
simplified enough?
That's simplified. Hey, I'm all about self-care made simple. So we're right on the same page.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, to those of you listening today, thank you for tuning in. What thought or idea came up for you as you were hearing this conversation? Do you have a self care practice you're wanting to elevate? Is there something that you think meditation could help you improve in your life? If so, I hope that you will take a look at the link that I put in the show notes. And also, if this resonated for you and you want to share it with someone, please screenshot this episode and tag us on Instagram at Sheila A. Botello and at monica.le.baron. And let us know. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Big blessings. Thank you so much for being here with me on the Connect podcast. If you like this episode, please share it with someone you think would enjoy it. Also, if you head over to iTunes to leave a review, I'd be so grateful. Let us know what your favorite parts were and what you'd like to hear more of. It will help us have a greater impact, elevating many more people to grow and succeed together. See you next time.